For more than 4 decades, Al Roker has stood before glowing maps and swirling satellite images, translating the chaos of the atmosphere into something millions can understand. But in the quiet hours before dawn, long before the studio lights rise, his work begins not with graphics or scripts, but with a deeply personal ritual shaped by time, experience, and the steady presence of his wife, Deborah Roberts, whose calm perspective has become an unseen compass in his life. As the coffee brews in their New York home, Al studies weather models not just as data points, but as stories waiting to be told responsibly, especially in moments of crisis, when a hurricane spins toward the coast or a winter storm threatens to paralyze cities, because he knows that what he says and how he says it can either heighten fear or offer reassurance. And that awareness has shaped what many in the industry quietly call Roker's weather map secret, a philosophy rooted in science, empathy, and clarity, where the colors on the radar are chosen carefully, avoiding unnecessary alarm, and the language he uses is measured, never sensational, always grounded. Because over the years he has learned that viewers, particularly those who have lived through decades of storms and uncertainty, are not looking for drama, but for guidance they can trust. Deborah often reminds him in those early morning conversations that behind every forecast are real people making real decisions, whether to evacuate, whether to stay, whether to call loved ones, and that reminder lingers as he steps into the studio, where the familiar hum of equipment and the glow of digital maps await him. And as the camera turns on, Al doesn't just present a forecast, he tells a story of what is happening, what might happen, and most importantly, what people can do, weaving scientific precision with a tone that feels almost like a steady hand on the shoulder. And it is this balance that has made him a comforting presence during some of the nation's most challenging moments, from devastating hurricanes to unexpected blizzards, because he understands that while he cannot change the path of a storm, he can influence how people feel about facing it. Over time, his approach has evolved into something almost intuitive, a blend of meteorological expertise and emotional intelligence, where he anticipates the questions viewers are too anxious to articulate and answers them before they're even asked, breaking down complex systems into simple, digestible insights without ever talking down to his audience. A skill that resonates deeply with older viewers who appreciate both his respect for their experience and his commitment to honesty. And in those moments when the map behind him shows ominous reds and purples, Al's voice remains steady, his demeanor calm, because he knows that panic spreads faster than any storm system, and that calm, when delivered authentically, can be just as powerful. Back at home, after the broadcast ends and the immediate urgency fades, he often reflects with Deborah on the day's coverage, discussing what worked, what could be clearer, and how they can continue to serve viewers not just as an audience, but as a community. And it is in these conversations that the deeper meaning of his work becomes evident, not as a performance, but as a responsibility carried over years of trust built one forecast at a time. As he moves through this stage of his life, speaking to an audience that has grown alongside him, there's a quiet understanding in his delivery, a recognition of shared history, of storms weathered, both literal and personal. And that connection gives his words a weight that goes beyond the graphics on the screen, turning each broadcast into something more than information. It becomes reassurance, a reminder that even in the face of uncertainty, there is value in preparation, in knowledge, and in staying grounded. And perhaps that is the true secret behind Al Roker's weather maps, not just the science that drives them, but the humanity that shapes how they are shared, a blend of data and compassion that continues to calm a nation, one forecast at a time.